You value those relationships, you pay them well, and you let their expertise complement everything you're doing so that everybody's winning bigger. Seller's winning bigger, you're winning bigger, the buyer's everyone's having a better experience, everyone's making more money.
The return on your time investment of locking the properties up is so much greater. You're much better off. And then the lifestyle part, right? The agents are working on the weekend while I'm chilling with my family.
Welcome back to video 5 in our Novation Masterclass. Rich, this has been so awesome. Guys, you're literally getting probably a course worth thousands of dollars in this free Masterclass series that we're doing. So I hope you see that, I hope you appreciate that. Leave a comment and say, Rich, thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge that you're sharing. I mean, guys, Rich flew all the way in here to Puerto Rico on his dime, giving away his entire playbook for you for free. So I hope you guys see the value in that. Please leave a comment and say, thank you, Rich, you're a flipping genius. And again, I from the bottom of my heart, Rich, thank you. This video here, we're gonna really dive into what I've been excited about this for a few videos here, but we're gonna talk about the role of the real estate agent in the novation process. And by the way, guys, if you're just joining this video, stop right now, go to the playlist, start back with video 1 and follow in order these videos. What I recommend is watch them all as they come out and then go back through and dissect them and maybe deep dive each one. Because this isn't surface, this is very deep level, high level and deep on each of these topics, right? So if you're hearing things that are maybe confusing or unclear, you may need to go back and watch it again and ask questions, and we'll try to make sure that we answer those questions, right? So again, this video topic is all about the role of the real estate agent, and really, I think the biggest concern, and I've done both ways, and I've seen both ways taught, and that's the difference between a flat fee agent in the process on the listing side or a local full service agent. And maybe Rich, start out with why would somebody choose the flat fee over the listing? What are the pros and cons? But really there's two trains of thought or two camps on this. And it's sort of a controversial part of the strategy here because you hear both ways.
Right.
So I'm kind of excited to deep dive why you do it one way or over another.
Sure. So when I was first taught this strategy, we used exclusively flat fee listing, right?
To save money.
To save money, right? That was one part of it. And then there was also the part of, hey, look, we're wholesalers. We know more than the agents, right? And we're best to be the captain of our own destiny, right? So that's kind of the thought process behind it. Now,
and just for someone who's listening, Rich, maybe explain what is a flat fee listing?
Okay, so a flat fee listing is you pay normally a few $100s, and they essentially just put your deal on the MLS for you, and basically you're still taking the calls, but the calls are going not directly to you because there's rules on most MLSs where if you're not a licensed agent representing the seller, your phone number cannot be on that listing.
Yeah.
So there's the first point of friction for the buyer.
You'll literally get a forwarded email or something. You know
An email or a messaging service, and then they'll call the buyer back or the buyer's agent and give them your phone number. And then
So think about it this way, just so because this is going to be, if you don't understand this, then none of this will make sense. So when you hire a flat fee listing, you're literally taking a licensed agent, because you have to have a license to list a property on the MLS, and he's saying, hey, throw me $150. You fill out this form, which is the description, upload some pictures, and I'm gonna push a button and put it on the MLS, but that's all I'm doing because you're not paying me to do anything, you're just paying me to put it on the MLS for you.
Correct.
And that's basically a flat fee service, which then means all the other work involved is on you. So they're just gonna push stuff your way and you're gonna be dealing with everything and anything else other than that. Now again, the reason why anybody would even consider that is because now you're not paying the typical 2.5% to 3% to a listing agent. You're paying a couple $100s. So now when you look at your 10% for fees, you're now getting to keep a lot of that because you're saving money on the listing side.
Yes.
Or you can maybe lower your margins, but the idea why anybody would do a flat fee would be, I'll do the work and I'll save on the commission.
Correct.
So what you're saying is you just introduce a whole bunch of problems unnecessarily, probably.
Yes. Yeah. And so the reason people will do this, one reason is to save money. Another reason is they don't have an effective strategy to communicate with and motivate the good agents, the best agents, to want to work with them. So maybe they're trying to find agents and the agents are all telling them no or they're not interested, right?
Because you're like, what are you doing? I don't want any part of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is this? This sounds not above board. No, thank you, right? Because the agents, here's the thing. They get all sorts of scam calls. They get all sorts of sales calls. They get all sorts of wholesalers claiming to be buyers reaching out. Their defenses are up and their reputation is like one of the cornerstones of their business.
If they're a top agent.
Absolutely, right? They have to guard their reputation with their life. It's extremely important. They can't be mixed up with anything that's off color.
Yeah. Now you can get anybody to go do a listing for you, but they're not going to be a top agent.
Correct.
They're going to be, the bartender with their license, and they do this on the weekends.
Correct.
And that's not what we're looking for.
At all. At all. And this is another reason why I don't recommend, hiring a friend or hiring a referral. You need to go through an interview process, and I'll get to that in just a second. But with the flat fee, okay? So the buyer's agent calls in, they get either a strange recording or normally a virtual assistant that's clearly in another country, right? Because they hire the people they can pay the least. And then they get your phone number, and then they call you, right? So sometimes it'll be during normal business hours, and sometimes it won't be. So you're essentially married to this deal until it closes and you get paid. So if you're one of those people that likes spending time with your family, likes doing things on the weekend, likes traveling, okay, flat fee is not for you. There's so many other reasons, but we'll start there. The time commitment. And then also, when the agent calls, you're starting off your conversation with them asking who you are. Now, you're either telling a half-truth or you're telling them the whole truth, and the conversation is no longer going towards their interest of the property. It's now them trying to decipher if this is a legitimate transaction or not. Then another thing.
So you're creating all these unnecessary objections.
Correct. All these friction points early in the transaction. And then, of course, a good buyer's agent is going to see that you're not a licensed agent, and they're going to use that information towards their negotiation process. They're going to purposely make things more complicated and difficult for you to trip you up and to knock you off center and to serve their clients' needs, because that's their job.
Or at least have their guard up, because they're going to instantly find out that you did a flat fee service, which
Correct.
means you're not willing to pay a real agent, right?
Correct.
A full service agent, which means you're probably going to nickel and dime them, and you're probably going to make it hard for them, and you're going to be difficult. And so now all of a sudden, like you said, you created all these friction points by going the flat fee route.
Correct. And even once you have a buyer under contract, there's all these different paperwork exchanges that need to happen. And very often there's state-specific forms, there's certain ways to do it where, okay, even if you could justify it where, let's say you were an agent in that state and you understand how that works, it's still work that needs to be done in a timely manner. And then you multiply that by multiple deals, okay? And even if it's not you, even if you hire someone to do that, your whole business is riding on that person. And that person likely is not going to be as good as someone that does this full-time for a living. And if that person is a licensed agent, then we're running into this other legal gray area. And there's a pretty solid argument that you're brokering without a license, right? Because, hey, look, you may not be technically, I don't know, you'd have to consult an attorney to see what the legal definition is. But it's the equivalent of putting on a white jacket and, trying to heal people's ailments and performing medicine without a license as well, right? And we keep in mind, the whole purpose of this is to give the seller a hands-off white glove experience.
Never lose sight of that.
So it's irresponsible to think that you're going to be able to perform better than someone that's been doing this for 15 or 20 years and has a proven track record, right? Just practically speaking, okay, when it gets to negotiations, you're not going to be able to negotiate as well as the local agent, okay? The agent may have pre-existing relationships that they can leverage, okay? The agent has vendors that they work with regularly that can not only save you a massive amount of time, but also a massive amount of money. The agent understands that particular area. What are common problems that are in that area? Like, right, we have sometimes properties where they're like, hey, look, there's foundation issues throughout this entire neighborhood. This is par for course with that. I've got a foundation guy. We had one where we had one foundation repair guy come in and say it was a $20,000 issue. The agent had their person go in there. We got it done for like $2,000 or something.
Yeah.
So whatever money that you perceive that you're saving, I guarantee you're not. And it only takes one failed deal for all that 3% commission to get completely washed away.
Yeah, to add to that, it's also, if you're doing this virtual in markets you're unfamiliar with, every market has nuance.
Yes.
And those local agents, they know that nuance inside and out, meaning, different property things, flood zones, all kinds of things that maybe you're not even thinking about. The difference between like a basement versus a slab, this is a brick, not brick, garage, no garage, all these things that are going to play a major factor in your ability to sell that property. That local expert knows that inside and out, because if they're a top agent, that means they're doing transactions every single month and they know what buyers want, they know what's going on, and again, they have all the connections. So it's leveraging a local market expert in your process.
Exactly. And here's another perspective to look at it. The getting the property under contract, that's the least time consuming task and the highest value task, right? Because here's the deal, right? If everybody knew how to do this, right, we wouldn't make as much money. So that's the most rare skill and the most valuable skill and the highest ROI on your time. So let's even pretend, okay, you're as good as any local agent you could hire, right? Let's say you're the rare breed where you're only working in your own market and you know that market like the back of your hand and you're better than every other agent, which likely isn't the case, but just for argument's sake, right? In that same amount of time it takes you to sell that deal, you could get 3, 4, 5 more deals under contract. So although you can perform it, it's a much lower ROI because we're making, remember, between 10 and 20% and sometimes more of the sale price.
Yeah.
And we're only giving up 3%. So, and then you multiply that by multiple deals, it's exponentially a better use of your time. And that's why, I'll have course members that'll say, hey, look, I'm an agent in my area. Is there any legal issues with me selling my own properties? And it's like, well, potentially, I can't say for certain, but more pragmatically speaking, the return on your time investment of locking the properties up is so much greater. You're much better off. And then the lifestyle part, right? The agents are working on the weekend while I'm chilling with my family. Yeah. I might have to answer a text. I might have to take a 20-minute call. But guess what? Like when your property's on the market and people are calling for showings, if you don't pick it up, it's a missed opportunity. And, dealing with tire kickers, and there's just so many moving parts. There's so many compelling reasons on why the agent is a better option.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate something about that, because what you don't want to do is pay a full service agent and get a flat fee service.
Correct. And
what I mean by that is not all agents are created equal. In fact, I don't know if you guys saw this, but recently statistics came out that said 70% of licensed real estate agents, active licensed real estate agents, have done 1 or 0 transactions in the past 12 months. I was blown. I knew it was high.
Yeah.
Think about that. That means most licensed real estate agents, they're not market experts. They
Correct.
just got their license and it's a stay-at-home mom, or it's a second thing, or it's a weekend thing, or maybe someday the only listings they ever get are from their buddies or friends at church or whatever.
Yes.
That's not what we're going for here. You do not want that. What Rich is saying is, how do you find the top agents in that market? And I think the agent model is no different than the Novation or the wholesaler model, or really anything. It's 80-20. 20% of agents in the market get 80% of the business.
Correct.
Right? And so who is that? Who is that agent? Because that's what you're willing to pay for, and what you want to pay for is a market expert.
Yes.
And then be able to communicate them where they want to work with you and do business with you. So I'd love to hear from you when you're ready. I'd love to hear from you some ideas around, okay, well, if I'm in a brand new market, I get this opportunity, maybe I don't know a local market expert agent. How do I find that local market expert? And I've got a few ideas around this, but I'd love for your ideas on that.
So, it's a simple answer. We call all the agents that have sold in the area recently, right? So by definition, everyone we're talking to has sold at least one house there. So they have some track level. Yeah, and like when I first started out, our strategy was, and this is what I was taught, let's go on Zillow and see who's sold the most houses. But here's the deal. Someone that sold the most houses may not necessarily be the best person to sell your house. And that's even though you have a friend or whatever, a buddy, that's a great agent in that city, right? Or even sometimes in that state, that doesn't mean they're the best one to sell your house, because there's nuances. And then also people that do a lot of deals, a lot of times they have a team around them where they're not the ones actually performing the transaction. They're really good at the front end of bringing in the listings, but then it's getting parsed off to someone that may or may not have a lot of experience. And you got to think pragmatically too. Like if the majority of their listings are in this neighborhood and yours are over here, your deal is unfortunately going to get less attention because the economies of scale are with their existing ones and yours is kind of on an island by itself. So what I found is a lot of the agents we work with maybe don't sell a ton of houses, but they farm that area. They're the best person for my house. And that's the thing. And I want to make sure they have the time and energy too to really put it in. So that's why communicating with them, setting the expectations up front with them, and the whole way the conversation goes is extremely vital, because depending on how the agent feels about you is going to be how much effort they're going to put in your deal. So having that conversation is extremely important on how you direct it and how you handle it, right? But yeah, finding the local agents. And then here's the thing.
When you say, so you'll look at sold comps in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And then that's your go-to for interviewing an agent.
Correct.
So say, hey, I see that you sold a house 2 blocks over. I've got one in that same neighborhood. Maybe you're a good fit. Let's talk about it. Like
Correct.
That's where you're farming for a good agent.
Exactly. And we use the agents as part of our due diligence process as well, right? So one of the questions I ask every single agent is, hey, Mr. Agent or Mrs. Agent, we are looking to move very quickly on this. Our ideal situation is to get an offer as soon as possible. 2, 3, 4 weeks at the latest. Yeah. Now, since I have mentioned, I don't live in the property and I've only seen some pictures of it, I'm going to send over all the information that I have. I need you to give your best professional opinion on where you think we need to price this property in order that you'd be confident we can get an offer quickly. Mm-hmm. And then I also get them to justify their thinking behind it, right? So I can hear, because sometimes you'll get this answer that's way higher than what you were thinking. Mm-hmm. And then when you hear
a typical tactic for agents to do.
Correct.
To get a listing.
Correct. Yeah.
And
this is also a good filter to see, are they a good talker or a good worker? Because you'll have these great conversations, and then, by the time they get back to you with the thing, like you've already hired an agent and it's on the market pretty much, right? And it's like, that's a good filter, because if they're not good at getting back to you quickly and recognizing your value, right? Because think about it. For the agent, we're the most valuable client they could have. They didn't have to pay $1 to market to us. We found them on our own. We're realistic on our price, and we're going to follow their advice.
And your repeat business.
Exactly. So if they don't have the logical approach to recognize that, they're likely not the best fit. But here's the thing too, like the way to communicate them isn't necessarily intuitive, and it took me a while to figure that out. I stumbled around with that for a long time, and that's one of like the secret sauces to our formula. But getting those prices back from them, and also seeing, is this the agent that says, hey, I'm actually going to be in the area tomorrow, even if they're not, right? But they're just smart, right? I'm actually going to be over there tomorrow. Would it be okay if I stopped by and took a look? Boom, go get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're on the ball.
And when you say you want them to give you data, they're providing you comps to justify their number.
They're providing comps, but also they're giving me insight on the area and justifying why. And the good ones when they go over there, right? Because I normally, unless I'm having trouble finding sharp people, I wait to see if they suggest it. Because that's another like little check mark that I make. Okay, they want to see the property. And once we set up the appointment with the seller, right, for them to go over, I prep the seller beforehand. This is someone we may be working with that's local, that's going to help us with the paperwork and some of the marketing. I also tell the agent, hey, I want you to look out for anything that may not qualify this for a FHA or VA loan. I haven't been to the property myself. If you can kind of be my eyes and ears. And we also, if we end up moving forward, I want to hear what your strategy would be for us to get a quick sale. Mm-hmm. What your marketing strategy would be, if there's any minor things that would have a high return on investment that we can do. Just know I'm looking to do minimal work to this. But if there's something that's a glaring problem or an obvious fix that's going to have a high return on investment, I'd be open to hearing about that. Also, Mr. Agent, if there are things that need to be done, do you have vendors in your circle of trust that we can work with, that you can get good deals and get work done quick? I make them in the beginning sell me on why they're the perfect solution. So then later I don't have to beg them. It's something that they do for the job. It's the equivalent of like when you have a job interview and they're like, hey, are you okay with working weekends? Oh yeah, sure. Nights, weekends, Christmas Day, whatever you want. You know what I mean? As compared to once someone's already hired, you ask them to work a weekend. Oh man, I'm like, I've got a baseball game and that's my football day.
And those are pre-qualifiers, because if you say to a top agent, hey, if I need some vendors, that if they're a top agent, they will say, yeah, you need contractors, I got contractors, because there's a reason why they're a top agent. They're problem solvers. And no top agent is not going to have contractors that can solve problems. They all
Correct.
have that. Just like when you say, well, what's the number to sell this in 3 weeks? And then you say, why? My immediate weeding out process is if they can't answer that on the fly with confidence, then they're not a market expert.
Correct.
Because a market expert is going to say, oh, I know that neighborhood, I know that number, and here's why it's that number. This house sold for this house sold for this house sold for that. That neighborhood sells for $205 a foot, as is value, not ARV, and they will. If they answer you, I gotta go. Let me go look.
Yeah.
Let me do a CMA for you. We're done.
Yeah.
Because a top agent knows their market and they know their numbers.
Correct. And very often too, well, not very often, but often enough that it's notable, from their previous sale, especially if it was very recent, they may even offer up, well, I did have some buyers that put up bids for this other one. And I've had it in the past where we get it sold before it's even listed.
Because they have a buyer.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's a more rare occurrence, but it happens often enough that it's just another added benefit. If that happens, great.
I think that happens often for us. So one strategy I do on my fix and flips is very similar. I only hire the best of the best to list my property on my flip. And those agents end up being the buyer's agent as well, probably 30 to 40% of the time, because a couple of reasons why. I hire them early on in the process, so they double as a designer and they're helping me through the process. And since they know about the property and they're a top agent, they also have buyers, and so they pre-sell my property to their buyers.
Right.
So by the time we're ready to go to market, they've got buyers on the sidelines.
Correct.
Because they're a top agent, which means they produce.
Yes.
So oftentimes they'll have your buyer too.
Yeah, and the difference between an average agent and a top agent isn't a small one.
It's drastic.
It's drastic. You have bad, average, like bad and average are like this, and then top agents up here, where it's like more than 100% better.
Well, the average income is, what is it, like 40 grand for the real estate agent, right? So
yeah.
So the top that are doing well, they're in that 1%.
For sure. Yeah, they're doing 5 or 10 times better than that. So yeah, there's so many other reasons. Also with repairs, okay? Because when I was doing flat fee, there was times where I told the buyer to kick rocks and on the repairs, and I lost the deal.
Yeah.
And I lost 30 grand or whatever. We didn't find a new buyer and the deal was dead. The seller was harmed. We lost out. And then there was other times where, when I was working with agents, I wanted to tell them to kick rocks. They advised why not. Or there was times where I was like, hey, let's do this repair. And then the agent's like, wait, slow down. No, they're just asking for this. They're not even seriously wanting it. They're seeing what they can get away with. This is not a normal thing for this area. Or this is something that agents always do to try to do it. And you can shut them down and it won't be an issue.
Yeah.
So it's helpful on so many levels where really even on that deal, you're going to make more than your 3% back, plus all those other benefits we already talked about.
So really what I call that is the agent coaching you.
Correct.
So like it's really funny you say that. I just put this little clip on my Instagram yesterday or the day before, and this was on the buy side, but I asked the agent, I said, well, what terms do I need to be at on my offer? And the agent said to me, well, this is your offer, you tell me. And I said, no, I need you to coach me right now.
Yes.
Like coach me on what a good offer looks like. This, and this was the listing agent for the seller. So I'm double ending it. I'm like, you coach me. And so the similar process, like you've got your listing agent, buyers are going to come along. Buyers might lowball or they might ask for stuff. And if you have a good listing agent, they're going to be able to figure out what's going on here and coach you on how to respond to some of those demands that a buyer's agent has. They may say, Jerry, these concerns they have, they're legit. Like if we say no to this, it's going to come up again with the next offer anyway. So let's handle this. Yeah. Or they might be like, you know what? I don't think we need to do that. Or maybe we don't need to do all 20 things. Let's only do 5.
Yeah.
But if they're good, they'll help you through that process.
Yeah, we recently had a deal that's actually about to be closing in the next day or two, where we only had one offer come in, and the offer we were only going to make like maybe $10,000, but the agent had more showings coming, and we're getting towards the end of the contract. There's a couple reasons why it got pushed out, but the agent's like, wait, no, don't accept this offer yet, and we had been going back and forth. And originally it came in even lower. We ended up getting another offer. He's like, wait. We ended up getting another offer like the next day, and the seller was freaking out. The seller was very high anxiety, very high strung and everything. And instead of making the $10,000, we're now making $30,000 with the new buyer. Because we had the buyer, we're going back and forth for maybe like a week and a half, and they had a FHA loan. There was all this hair on the offer itself. But things like that with the agent, being able to leverage their time, their expertise, and their relationships is...
They navigated through that with you, and you ended up making more.
Correct.
And that would have never happened with a flat fee. You would have been in the dark quite a bit.
Yeah, with a flat fee, I already know. I would have taken the $10,000 because my thought would have been, this seller is very under distressed. It would be like immoral for me not to take this offer because we're getting close to our cutoff date to being able to close this on time.
Bird in the hand, yeah.
Yeah, bird in hand, right? Yeah. But yeah, there's just been so many times when I work with good agents where I'm like, yep, I'm never going to change this. I'm never going to go flat fee because they just saved me all this money. They just made me all this money. And sometimes I even feel guilty for paying them just the 3% because of how valuable they are.
How valuable they are, yeah. I mean, I really feel like, to wrap up this video here, I've talked about this quite a bit on my YouTube channel, this animosity between agent and investor. And it's really sad because that's not how I operate my businesses. I find tremendous value in real estate agents. You just need to know how to leverage their expertise and help them see the big picture and build a relationship, because the top agents, they recognize that if I'm working with a retail seller or buyer, that's like a one and done. Like maybe I'll rework with them in 7 years when they want to do sell or buy again or whatever. Right. But if I can align with a Rich Wonders who's doing dozens and dozens of transactions, then that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So how do I create that really strong relationship? And that top agents want that, and you want that.
Yes.
This is a relationship business, so the stronger those relationships are, the better you'll be able to transact at a higher level.
Yes, and we have to make sure that on our side, wholesaler/investor, that we're acting ethically, because there probably are some legitimate concerns on why agents don't like working with wholesalers, as they've had bad experiences.
I had a recent example where this was on the buy side again, but same principle, and the agent said to me, it was a flat fee, so I did this flat fee, and the agent says to me, why are you doing a flat fee? And I said, well, I'm an investor, and I don't need an agent to list, because it's easy. That's what I said. I mean, I'm like in my head here too much. And she said, well, we're done then. I'm like, well, why? And she said, I just don't want to work with an investor. And I said, well, why? And what happened was she had a bad experience with an investor, probably a wholesaler.
Right.
And in her mind now, all investors are shady and they're hard to work with, and they're going to be difficult all the way, and they're going to try to renew all the things.
Right.
And so she had this mindset of like, investor, I'm out.
Right.
Now, what triggered that was my flat fee listing, because that kind of red flagged, hey, I'm too cheap to pay for a real agent.
Right.
And then I said that to her.
Sure. That was the confirmation.
Yeah, that was the confirmation. So again, it just goes back to, are you valuing the people that you can bring around you in your business that are going to allow you to do your job better, faster, and make more money for you, the seller, give everybody a better experience. And I think really this is like the abundant mindset. And you talked about this, I hope you guys see that as Rich shares. So I really think that an abundant mindset is where you look at all the people that can help you do your business better, and you value those relationships, you pay them well, and you let their expertise complement everything you're doing so that everybody's winning bigger. Seller's winning bigger, you're winning bigger, the buyer's everyone's having a better experience, everyone's making more money. And when you think abundantly, it's like we could all go up together.
Yes.
Not if someone wins, someone loses. That's a scarcity mindset to think, if I win, you lose, or if you win, I lose. And so therefore, relationships are a commodity, and whatever I can do to find the cheapest solution, I'm going to do that.
Right.
When you think that way, it's so short-sighted that your business is really going to suffer in the long run.
Yeah, you can't treat every deal like it's your last deal, because it stops you as well. That bandwidth that you do allocate to get the deal from front to back, it stops you from getting more deals.
Yeah.
So you're much better at thinking abundantly of like, hey, look, I have plenty of deals coming in. I can allocate this other stuff so I can do what I do of just getting more deals in the pipeline and then shipping it off to the experts.
Yeah, so true. So guys, I think we've hit home really hard the flat fee versus the full service agent, top expert agent. So really think that through carefully as you start to do novations as to how you're going to handle that part of the process. And I align 100% with you, Rich, on the full service top agent model for doing this. Guys, to close out this video, remember that there's a playlist link which will have all the videos in this series. Also check out some free resources. We have a quick start kit that we'll give you for free. Lots of cool tools in there. Again, the download link is in the description, totally free. And also we're gonna give you some information about how you can learn more about how to get some advanced training from Rich and his team, and also how you can JV on deals. And this is really cool because if you've got a warm lead that maybe might be a good fit for a novation, you can actually bring that to Rich and his team. They'll take that lead, go through the whole process front to end, and partner with you in essence on the deal so that you can earn while you're learning as well. Really cool that you do that, Rich. So there's that as well. Guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next video.